Welcome to the channel, friends. So today in the garage, I plan on installing 28-inch ATV mud tires on beadlock rims. I have already gone ahead and installed 3 out of the 4, and I'm gonna record this 4th one and kind of show you the tips and tricks that I used to get these big tires over the beadlocks and installed. So if this is something that's gonna interest you, stay tuned and enjoy. All right, so welcome back to the garage, guys. Another wonderful morning here, and here's my machine that the wheels are going on. It's a 2018 Polaris Sportsman XP1000 Hunter model, and yeah, it's got the Polaris stock 26-inch wheels. Not too bad for overall trail use and, you know, plowing and things like that, but I decided to upgrade to a set of 28-inch System 3 XM310s. Okay, this has an 1.5-inch lug. It's essentially a mud tire, and it's a really lightweight mud tire. It comes in at about 38 pounds or so. So this is what I'm going with as my second set of wheels. And obviously this one here is already assembled with the beadlock rim and aired up. So I plan on showing you guys the complete install process from scratch. So this is the tire right here without the rim. Like I said, it's a 28-inch, 9.5 by 14 size. And this right here is the rim I will be using. It is the System 3 SB-5. Okay, and that's the part number right there. You guys can capture that. It is a true beadlock wheel. So those are the rims. Let's crack open the box really quick and I'll show you what it looks like. I'm gonna do this one-handed. They come really nicely packaged. You got a rim protector, you see that? You got a plastic rim protector with foam, and it's kind of like grommet, this hairnet material that goes over that. And there it is. Brand new set of System 3 SB-5s. Okay, I chose the SB-5 because this ring here, the beadlock ring, is actually milled out to be lighter weight. The other System 3 rims, beadlock rims, have this solid feature all the way around. So I liked how this is milled out to save some weight, because the tires and rims themselves are gonna, you know, be more than a factory weight for tire and rim setup. So I try to go as light as possible when it comes to the combination. So I really like this rim. It's a satin black. It's a one good thing about these rims, if you don't know, is that they have stainless steel inserts for the lug nuts. So obviously that's more durability when it comes to side-by-sides and extreme use on ATVs. So you're not going to wear out or oval out or misshapen those through holes for the lug nuts. Okay. So the tire itself is a pretty mean tire. I mean, this thing is crazy. It's got 1.5-inch paddles on it. It rides supposedly pretty smooth. I haven't tried them out so far, but just rolling it without anything mounted or anything, they ride and roll pretty smoothly, okay? So I'm very impressed with the tire so far, but time will tell exactly how it rides and how it performs on the trail, because I do a lot of trail riding, not just mud and rocky terrain here in New Hampshire. So it's a great all-around tire, I think, and hopefully the lugs are not going to be too much for just standard trail riding or plowing or anything like that. So, but like I said, time will tell, and I'm really happy to put these on the machine. I really like the look of them. The rims have a little bit of an offset to them, so they're going to stick past the factory width on the Polaris here. But you know something? I have these side rails, these body armor side rails, okay, that actually stick out a little bit and actually produce some kind of fender flare. So that might line up just right, just nice and flush with the outside of the rail. That'll look really mean. and give the machine a good stance. So let's go ahead and show you guys what I'm using to install this. Very simply, all you need, okay, is a towel and a 5-gallon bucket. Put the towel right over the bucket to protect your rim, because I will be seating the rim on top of here. So these are the tools I'll be using. I'll be using a minimum of 2 12-inch C-clamps, preferably the non-marring type, WD-40, a brush to apply the WD-40, a torque limiting drill with a 1/2-inch socket. Very important, you don't want to have this on the hammer setting or any kind of drill setting. I have it on setting number 11 for this drill, okay? A ratchet, also a hand driver for the socket, an air chuck, and this right here is an adapter for the air chuck to thread onto the valve stem to produce a better seal while airing up the tire, a torque wrench for when you're done. The rims require a 15 foot-pound torque spec on all the bolts. Once you have the thing seated and kind of, massaged in. Very important, you want some anti-seize. Okay, we're talking about steel bolts on an aluminum rim. So it's a good idea to use anti-seize. They tell you just to put a little bit of oil on the threads, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure that those threads are protected with some anti-seize. Just a little bit on the threads. You're going to need a rag, obviously, and then a beverage of your choice, because this is going to take a while. You have a lot of bolts to screw into the rims, and that's about it. I mean, this is what it takes to complete the process in kind of an easy way. I think the most important is obviously the anti-seize, your torque wrench, and definitely WD-40. This makes the tire go on a lot easier. All right, so let's get started. And before I start bolting everything together, I want to measure the weight of the rim and tire individually, just for the record, because this is going to be a good kind of metric when it comes to seeing what the stock tires weigh. So the tire by itself is 37.8 pounds. Gonna go ahead and reset the scale. With the bolts. So we have 16 pounds even for just the rim itself. Now I will weigh a full wheel assembly. So an assembled wheel and tire is 53.4 pounds. All right, so now it's time to get started. And the first thing I'm gonna do is grab my rag and make sure there's no debris on the rim or the beadlock ring. So give it a quick wipe. I'm gonna set this aside. So you have to determine, since this is a beadlock, the rotation of the tire. So you're gonna have the little arrow on the side of your tire sidewall. 2 are gonna have to be counterclockwise, and then 2 will have to be clockwise when you install them when you're looking at the wheel, on the front face of the wheel. Okay, so once you establish that, because it's very easy to put these on backwards if you don't have a directional tire. So I've already established that, and I will apply with the brush some WD-40 on this lip here around the bead ring, and also on the tire on the back side. And I'm going to slip it right over, and I'll show you how easy it is. Now if you did this dry, it would be very difficult because the rubber is very, very tough and very, very dry. Okay, so it's not going to want to slide over easily. So WD-40, I'm just going to put it right around here on the outside perimeter of the rim. The good thing about WD-40 is that it will evaporate, so you don't have to worry about it staying slimy or gummy or anything. You can just wipe it off with the rag after if you want, but it will evaporate. So the same thing for the back of the tire. Give a couple squirts of WD-40 and run the brush along the bead of the tire. Make sure you get on the inside of the tire too, because that's what's going to make also contact initially when you run it over the rim. So what you want to do is tilt the tire. You don't want to go on flat on the tire like this. You want to tilt the tire just a little bit, okay, and then kind of press it along the center of the rim and along the tire, and it will start to feed on and walk its way on very easily. Just like that. Now if you did that dry, it would not go as easy. You would have a lot of resistance. It would bind up and hang up, and you might possibly damage your bead right here. So you don't want to do that dry. Always apply lubrication of some sort on there. Soap also works well, soap and water with a high soap concentrate. So one thing I'm going to personally do to my set of tires here is line up and clock the logos. Okay, so System 3 on the rim and line it up with System 3 on the tire, just because I'm a little OCD and I'm a fanatic like that. So I'm going to line it up, and then we can continue here with the clamps. Take the clamps and squeeze the carcass of the tire so it will compress the tire a little bit and set the tire down flat onto the beadlock face, and it'll keep it nice and centered for you as you're installing the screws. So the tire is nice and centered on the rim. Now we can continue and have confidence that we're not going to walk the tire off or pinch the tire at any bad location here. Tire is in place and it's ready for the next step. So everything lines up. Ring is good. Now I'm gonna lay down a rag over the face of the wheel just to protect it as I'm working. And next step is going to be anti-seize. You do not want to use a lot of this stuff. Okay, just a very little amount. I'm going to take off all the excess off of here and kind of work from there. Probably the easiest is going to be start where the clamps are, because that's where it's most compressed. I'll start off with 4 bolts installed and then tighten them by hand only. Very important that you start these by hand, because you have a lot of the tire is sprung and it wants to push off the ring and lift it up. So you have very little thread engagement at the very beginning. So you can either use a ratchet or like a hand driver like this, kind of like a screwdriver, socket driver. Either will work. You just kind of want to start it off. It's better off using the screwdriver type, because you can get a better feel. for what kind of thread situation you have. You know, if you feel resistance on the thread, if it doesn't work through by turning the screw in there with the hand driver, what you're gonna have to do is tap it. Okay, I mean, just tap it to hold, because these rims are painted. So what's happening is they tap the hole once they machine the rim, right? And then they paint it or coat it afterwards. And that coating sometimes will get into the threads and cause problems, because now it's a smaller thread because of that coating all on the threads. So that's the reason why you have to tap it. If they're good, you know, they usually will plug the threads and you don't have to worry about paint in your threads, and you don't have to chase the threads with a tap. But I do recommend using a tap just to chase it very lightly, just to get it started. If you do, you know, kind of incur some kind of resistance there, you really shouldn't. With the anti-seize, it should work its way through and kind of, you know, lubricate enough where it'll allow you to hand tighten the first 4 bolts. So once you have the first 4 started, then you can go ahead and thread in the rest of the bolts and apply your anti-seize to each one of them. Like I said, I started off by hand so I can kind of feel it go in and know that I'm okay. The threads do feel kind of tough threading in by hand, so that's the reason why you kind of want to use the hand driver first, because you will not be able to thread them in with just your fingers because of that paint that's on the threads. So you kind of just need to be really careful with it. Make sure you go straight in and nice and perpendicular with the bolt itself as you're starting to thread it. Okay? Just take your time. You don't have to rush through this, because this is very important to get right. So one thing I like about these rims is that they have 2 bolt patterns in here. The same bolt pattern, but you have twice as many threads. So I'm not sure if that applies to other beadlock rings and rims, but essentially if you strip out a couple of the threads, all you have to do is rotate it ever so slightly and you have a whole new set of threads all the way around. That's nice that they did that. You know, they basically added twice as many threads, giving you the flexibility down the line. If you ever damage the thread, you're okay, and all you have to do is just rotate it just that slight bit and you're good to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and by hand tighten everything with the driver. Just get it close. I got to get these started. You don't have to tighten it down all the way down just right now. I will use the drill for that. I just want to further thread on the bolts to make sure that I'm not going to damage anything. I just want to hit each bolt to make sure that it feels good. Once it feels good, then I'll go ahead and hit it with the drill. One good thing about WD-40 is that it removes anti-seize. So if you get it all over your gloves or all over the rim, don't worry, because this stuff comes right off with the WD-40. Alright, so next I'm going to use my drill with setting number 11 just to bring down all the bolts and to make contact. Of course, use a crisscross pattern. This is barely going to tighten this, so I'm not worried about torquing it right now. This is just going to cinch everything up nicely and kind of move things along quicker. So the next step is to air up the tire. I'm going to air these up to 25 pounds. Okay, it says here max pressure 18, but you might need to inflate it a little bit more just to seat that bead on the other side. So. And it's holding air. It's about 9 psi right now. I can see it stretching and kind of making its way over. All right, that's 17 psi. 18 and a half. Yeah, that's probably not going to do it. So 21 psi, still, it's kind of making its way over. I'm at 26 psi right now. Still nothing. Oh, there we go. Yep, there we go. I'm gonna use this little fancy button here and watch this. Deflate my tire while it's still hooked up. All right, so lug to lug. So I'm sitting on one lug and measuring to the opposite lug. I'm getting 27 1/4. So it's not measuring true to size. This is a 28-inch tire, so it is measuring undersize. So I guess that's okay. We'll see what happens when I mount them on the machine, see if I'm losing any kind of additional height, but I'm not too worried about that. I still love the design, and just check out those paddles. That's just crazy. Alright, so if you're wondering what a Corvette 01 looks like with mud tires, here it is. I just couldn't help myself. I had to put them on next to the next to the car and see what they look like. That is something. Yeah, she would rub, that's for sure. That looks pretty mean, actually. Look at that. Alright, the car's back to normal now. If you guys are interested in more videos about the car, let me know. This car is not stock. It's got a lot of add-ons and upgrades. This is a Corvette 01 with basically 724 wheel horsepower, 711 torque, and that's at the wheels. So pretty much 800 something at the crank when it comes to horsepower. Really quick, I'll go list off some stuff. It's got a K&N intake, 102 throttle body, ported snout, slightly ported supercharger inlet. Also, it has larger injectors. It's got the smaller pulley, the Grip Tech pulley from Kong. Kong heavy-duty intercooler bricks. Cook's 2-inch primary headers, no cats. It pretty much is a freaking beast on the road. I mean, it puts down a lot of power, and I'm still not done with it. I have a few more things I want to do. So my goal is 800 wheel horsepower. So I'm almost there. I'm at 724, so just a little more upgrades and things like that, and I should be right at that point. But anyways, back to the ATV. This is what it looks like. I'm not gonna put them on right now because I am super afraid that if I put these things on without that pinion plate, that I am going to just totally freaking screw up that front differential, and I don't want to do that because I've seen videos on YouTube of people putting on their big tires and then that plate right there will shatter, okay? And then the drive shaft will basically pull out of the front diff and just kind of flop around as you're driving the machine because it's always moving. So with that being said, I have a clutch kit already here. I'm still waiting for one of the two tools. I have one tool already here for the primary and secondary clutch. And I also have the Checo Racing pinion plate. I'll show you really quick what it looks like if you guys are interested. All the stuff is right here. I'm just waiting for the right time to do it. That's it right there. That's the heavy duty pinion plate by Checo Racing. Very simple install. I will do a video on that. You're gonna need some demand drive fluid. Here is the clutch kit with one of the tools. Still waiting for the second one. So this will go on pretty soon, and then I will put on the tires, and then I will obviously take it for a rip, and I'll show footage of that. So lots of good stuff to come, guys. I haven't been making videos for a while, but now I'm back on it, and look at that. I mean, look at this. It's just crazy. Those tires are just going to be freaking crazy. This machine does have a 2-inch high lifter lift kit, so it's not a stock height. Check out my other videos on all the different things you see on here. I've done a whole bunch of different mods and upgrades to the machine. Got a tiger tail that I recessed in the back. If you can see that, let's lighten up a little bit. So I tucked in the tiger tail so it's out of the way, so it's not hanging out the bottom if it was you know, attached to that receiver, which I couldn't stand. It would stick out like a foot out to here, and it would hang up on everything on the trail, and then when you're in a mud hole or something. So big gun exhaust with custom tip that I had to redirect because of the factory bumper was conflicting with that exhaust. Basically the turn down wasn't enough for the pipe, and it was heating up the bumper and melting the paint on it. So really happy with it. Well guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please place them down below. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.